Hey, and welcome back to Ontario Cryptids. First, I would like to thank you all who have subscribed to my channel. It's truly appreciated. On another note, I hope you're all staying safe out there with the pandemic. I know in my neck of the woods, we are entering another lockdown. Hopefully, these two stories can take your mind off of things for the next little bit. Today, we have two scary stories from Oklahoma and Alabama, which I know you're going to enjoy. And if you have your own story that you would like to share, then forward your encounter stories to OntarioCryptids@gmail.com. Okay, so here we go, guys. Go grab your favorite beverage or snack and sit back and relax. All right, this first encounter takes place in the fall of 2020 in Tulsa, Oklahoma. My husband and I walk our dog before bed from 10 p.m. to 1 a.m., and normally it is very dead. It has been raining here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I was going to solo walk to the courtyard, but hubby said he would join me to be safe. I walked ahead while he locked the door, and I hear him say, "Hello?" I look back and see nobody, and he just catches up and doesn't say anything more. The dog and I again walk ahead, and he keeps looking behind us. The courtyard to our complex has a huge grassy area where the apartment surrounds the courtyard in a U shape with stairs on either side. No one is outside, which is odd because normally at 11 p.m. we still see our neighbors, but it is rather chilly tonight. My dog barks and I give him a command to be quiet, and he starts looking up at the roof, so I turned around and looked up, and something is looking down at me and the dog. I feel like I was watching it for maybe 3 minutes, but it's hard to explain what it looked like. It was white with hollow eyes and white arms, but they weren't like human arms, and its head was long, like a white dolphin's head. At that moment, my husband says, "I'm not high enough for this shit," which made me look at him, and when I looked back, it was gone. I assumed it was my mind or maybe somebody trying to scare us, so I quickly walked to my husband, and he pulls away and is upset, which I assume is because I made him go out in the cold and rain. He hates the walks. I tell him to go inside and I will let the dog finish. It isn't raining hard anymore, but I can still hear the droplets hitting the tin roof. My husband shakes his head no, but the dog is kind of scared, so we just head back with my husband and dog ahead and me lingering behind a bit. I hear a loud bang on the stairs. Our apartment is along the same hallway. I'm almost to our door and turn around to see this thing on the stairs, and it starts walking backwards. At that moment, I felt very sick to my stomach, and I feel like I'm having an anxiety attack, so I quickly run to our door and close it. I peek out and I see it and ask my husband for his phone, but before he gives it to me, I hear a weird noise from the opposite end of the hall from this thing, and I gasp and whipped around to see the tail end of it, which looks like a hairless white deer thing, and my husband just pulls me in and closes the door. He says he got spooked when we first went out, and his mind played tricks on him. He explained what he thought he saw, describing exactly what I saw. He saw it at the end of the hallway after locking the door when we first went out, but it leaped away. Then again when I saw it looking down at me from the roof, which is why he said he wasn't high enough for this. After my panic attack passed, I explained to my husband what I think I saw. I don't know what it was, but it was huge and fast. I'm adding here a picture of what the husband drew of this creature that they both saw. Now, she does go on to say that it was very difficult to see it when it jumped because it was like a blur, but when it looked over, it had a long head. Entire thing was pale white and hairless. If I had to compare it to anything I have seen on a movie, I would say the head was like an alien xenomorph, but white and flesh looking. We live near a Native American reserve. That's interesting. And to me, this could be, I don't know, one of two things. It could either be a crawler, but usually a crawler doesn't have a head like that. The interesting part, though, is she mentions that it near the end that it had a deer-like head, which could be a skinwalker or a wendigo. But interestingly enough, I know that any indigenous groups, they don't like to say the word skinwalker. In fact, they will just call it anything but that. But anyways, interesting photo, a lot of detail. No hair on it. Definitely not a Bigfoot. That does not look like a Bigfoot to me. But yeah, good drawing and interesting story. So why don't we get to story number 2? All right, so we have multiple occurrences which takes place in 2020 near a town called Guntersville, Alabama. A little backstory. I've always had weird experiences, be it ghosts or strange animals. It just always seems to follow me and my family. We had just recently moved into an old farmhouse just off the main road. The house comes with 88 acres of land, and only 4 people live on or near the land, including us. When we first moved in, nothing abnormal happened. It was just a small, out-of-the-way house that seemed like a new start for us all. After a month of us living here, we started hearing strange noises outside at night, but nothing too serious. One night, I decided to have a fire and invite a few friends and get drunk. Well, me and a few other guys that were there that night decided to do some night fishing. While fishing in a pond that was maybe a few miles into the woods, we started hearing screaming. We just think that it's one of the girls back at the house, so we head back. But on our way, we start noticing that there is no more sounds. No sounds of nature, no birds, no crickets, nothing, so we stop to listen. As we do this, we hear the sounds of chains rushing towards us. As it gets 15 feet from us, I point a gun at where I think the sound stopped at, and I fire a shot at the ground a couple of inches from it. After a minute passes, the chains rush to the house. Nothing happens after that until we all go inside and start going to bed. We all hear a female scream again, but behind it there was a deep, distorted laugh. After that, nothing happens until 3 weeks later. Me and my dad go fishing out at the pond late in the afternoon. As it inches closer to dusk, we notice 3 pale white animals on the opposite side of the pond. But as soon as we notice the animals, they run, but instead of running on all 4s like a normal animal, they all jump up to their hind legs and jump 8 feet into a tree and hop from tree to tree away from us. As we see this, we decide to head back home, but on the way back, we hear the trees start rustling and it keeps getting closer and closer until we get to the house and lock the doors. I decide to set some cams in the woods and around the house. At first, I don't get anything, just deer and wolves. Until one night, a cam close to the house is moved for an hour, then moved back. Nothing really came of that until one night. After a long day of working, I decide to play a video game with a few friends. About 11 at night, I hear 2 taps, but I ignore it, thinking it was on the game. It continues till 2 in the morning. Periodically, every 5 minutes, 2 consecutive taps would happen. I finally took my headphones off, and I hear it at my window. And when I look out, I saw orange eyes 7 feet off the ground. After 2 minutes of staring at each other, it moved closer to the window and smiled at me with blood-stained daggers for teeth. And its face looked like a pale wolf-like face with some decay on along the sides of its head and neck. After doing this, it backs away and leaves. Now every night something happens. Like tonight, as I'm writing this, it rushes in onto the porch and claws the doors. As it's doing this, it is bellowing out a laugh that almost sounds like a deranged madman crossed with a hyena. Tomorrow, me and a few guys are going into the woods with some guns to try and finally put an end to this torment. So when I reached out for permission to use this story, I did let him know that he shouldn't be going out into the woods with guns, because I think that's exactly what this thing is trying to do. It's trying to get him out, and who knows what would happen if him and a bunch of friends go out there and try and confront this creature. Again, this sounds a lot like either a crawler or a skinwalker, one of the two. But I also mentioned that maybe he should file a report with the police, just so that they have something on file, because this is something that's happening over and over again. And it's good to have some sort of a record of what's going on. Even if maybe they don't believe them, at least there's a report that they came out for some reason, right? Like the claws in the door, the noises in the woods, and the things that they saw. But in any case, these were 2 amazing stories, but scary at the same time. Very scary. So if this reminds you of a story that you may have, then please forward your stories to OntarioCryptids@gmail.com, where I will be happy to share your story on this channel. All right, guys, I'm gonna stop talking now. So that's gonna be a wrap for today. I hope you all have a fantastic Sunday, and we will see you all next week.